Well, I'm working to add some deer food and healthier trees to this property today. I'm doing a true TSI, a timber stand improvement. I'm going to show you why I'm cutting what I'm cutting and the strategy behind it. So stick with me, and I'll show you what I'm up to. Alright, just needed to take a breather here about midway through the cut. It'll kind of explain what we got going on here. So there are stands set up towards the east line here, kind of running that way. There's one there, there's a stand further down that way, and there's a stand further down that way. And this is just a thin, I bet it's, I mapped it out, but maybe 80 yards at most, stretch of woods. So it goes from there to over there. It's about 80 yards wide, and that's all he owns right here, maybe 100 yards. So we don't really want to set up bedding here, but what we do want to set up are healthier trees and more reason for a deer to hang out in this area. So the big goal today is just cutting the junk. So when we're talking timber stand improvement, we're trying to select our oaks, our healthy oaks, and leave those standing and cut everything else down. Just check out these treetops. I mean, they are exceedingly suppressed. You can see they're all tight, tiny crowns, a lot of dead branches, not very healthy looking oak trees. And there's a reason for that. That's because they're all growing super tight together. Now that's kind of the goal when you're going for nice straight logs, but that's not the goal in this woodlot. We want more food and more reason for the deer to hang out here. So that's why the chainsaws are getting busted out today, and we're knocking down the junk trees. So again, we're not really trying to set up bedding in this area, but as you can see, it got fairly thick. But the real goal with this area is just to get these oak trees released and then maybe give some woody structure with these down trees so that the deer feel a little bit more secure walking through here. So as I'm cutting through here, I'm leaving lots of trails, and my trails are kind of funneling down right in front of deer stand locations. So it's okay if I get areas like this that get really junked and trashed. As long as I leave a funnel cutting around them, the deer can still move through here, because I want good ease of movement from the west to the east boundary. So that's why I have these trails in here. But the goal is to kind of pinch them down right in front of those stand locations, and then have spots like this. Not a huge hole in the canopy, but I'm going to get some sunlight in here, so therefore I'll get some regeneration, and I'll have a little bit of that feeling of security in here with filtered sun and a little bit of stuff growing underneath. So I'll have some food in here, I'll have some reasons for them to be in here with the woody regen. And this area will set up as like a staging spot before they kick out to the main food, which is that direction. Shadows are kind of messing with me here, but I did have some aspen growing in here, and I made sure to cut those down because, as I've shared, those will regenerate awesome off the root system. So I should get a nice little browse pocket right in this particular area. And I did cut, there's an oak right there, I did cut some oaks. And actually I could have cut a lot more, and I may end up cutting a lot more today, because I would guess 90+% of these oaks aren't even producing a single acorn, because these crowns just, I mean, look at them, they just don't look healthy. So we need to get these oak trees opened up. Like I've shared, when we get the oak trees opened up, that crown's going to stretch out like that. More stems equals more acorns. More acorns means that the deer are going to have more reason to hang out in this area. So we want more food in here. Acorns, those areas with good oak trees with lots of acorns dropping, set up really, really well for staging spots. When you get into like late September here in Minnesota, early October, they can be really fun areas to hunt. So we want to set this up as a staging spot for the deer. So that's why we're in here doing some TSI, opening these trees back up, leaving lots of trails for ease of movement so that they can get through here. When you are doing TSI in the woods, I have two different rules of thumb I go by as far as what trees to cut. So if I have my nice healthy tree, let's say this is the one I want to save, what I would do is I would cut anything that's touching the crown of that tree. That's for sure going to go. And then if you talk to foresters, another rule of thumb they use, let's say this is a, probably about a 22, 23 inch tree. So what you would do is you would take, for every inch of in diameter that tree is, you would cut 1 foot around it. So you would clear all the competition within 24 feet all the way around that tree to just help promote the tree that you want to save and that you want to kick out more acorns. This is kind of a cool stand of oaks, even though they're very, very highly suppressed. There's a good mix of bur oaks and red oaks in here. And we know the bur oaks are going to be amazing food for the deer early season through mid-October. Normally by then the deer get them cleaned up pretty good. But the red oaks are great winter food. So the tannin levels are higher in the red oaks. The deer don't hit them as soon. But once the snow starts falling on the red oaks, I think it leaches out some of that tannin content. They become more attractive to the deer. And you'll start to see this time of year that the deer are starting to rough up the leaves and eat some of the red oak acorns. So think of red oaks as your winter food and bur oaks as your deer season attractant. I want both. If I had to pick one, obviously at the end of the day I'm setting up a lot of this stuff for the deer season, so I may favor the bur oak, but I still like having plenty of red oaks to help feed the deer during those very high stress periods of the winter. So you can see right here, right there, is an oak tree that I cut. Well, I cut that tree because it formed a J. I mean, it looked junky, it looked like garbage, it was never going to produce an acorn. But I have a nice healthy oak right here. So that's part of that, releasing that crown competition. Let me get out of the sun here. Releasing that crown competition so I could promote my good tree and help it to produce more acorns. So you may have to cut oaks, you may have to cut a lot of oaks to help your oaks. Now if you're able to get a logger in to do your TSI for you, or they're willing to take some low value trees, if they, for whatever reason, there's a pulpwood market, or you got some marketable, let's say hard maple or things like that, absolutely get the logger in. Leave some of your good crop trees, seed trees, and then let them do the work for you. That's a nice scenario, because then you get a little bit of money in your pocket, but you're also helping out your woodlot. Because when you got woodlots that look like this, I mean, this is unmanaged. Now the landowner's getting at it, he's starting to manage it, but previously it had been unmanaged. So these oaks were going to be that last generation of oak trees this area ever saw. Because what would have happened then, these mid-story trees, I'm cutting a lot of mid-story trees today, a lot of box elder, elm, black cherry. What would have happened is, as these oak trees died off, these mid-story trees would have taken over, and there would have not been oaks any longer in this area. So we need to bust out the chainsaws sometimes and help out our forest, manage our forest, just like we would manage a food plot, so that we can actually have a crop of trees, a crop of good trees for the future generations. So you can see here's an area that I haven't got to yet, and this is what it looks like. No understory, mid-story trees, big oaks that probably aren't producing much. So I need to get in here, I need to bust out the chainsaw and start getting these trees down, because then I'll get some filtered sun coming in. So I'll get a little bit of regeneration, get more acorns, and set this woods up so it's in a better spot. So before we came over here and settled these areas, fire used to rip through here, and that's how we would get oak regeneration. There'd be really, really hot fires that would come through and kill some trees. That process of killing trees would allow sunlight to come in. You get enough sun to get some oaks coming back, because oaks are not shade tolerant trees. They need sunlight. But the sun would come in, get some young oaks coming back, and that process would just repeat itself. Well, now we need to use things like chainsaws to be able to emulate nature. The chainsaw is our fire now, because we don't allow those really, really hot, out of control fires to rip through our woods. Also, what we have now is more deer than we had back then too. So deer, even in those areas, if you have little tiny pockets of oaks coming back, they will select those oaks and kill those oaks before they select other softwood species. So when that happens, obviously we're not getting oaks coming back that way either. So we do have to get pretty aggressive with the chainsaw if we want to see any hope for oak regeneration, but also if we want to just keep our woods looking healthy and not have a bunch of straight suppressed trees. All right, well, that's all I got for today. I hope you all take care. God bless.